Now let's reintroduce you. So the three charities are the Cammy Lafleur Street Clinic, the O'Keefe Ranch, and the Okanagan Quality of Life. And first up from the Cammy Lafleur Clinic is Nelson Gladders.
Okay, thank you so much. It's also comforting to know I'm not the only one who feels the intense desire to pronounce her name very Frenchly whenever I read it. So thank you. So good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you about the work that we do. So my name is Nelson Gladders. I'm a community support worker at the Cammy Lafleur Street Clinic here in Vernon. So our clinic is named for Cammy Lafleur, who was a nurse here in Vernon until she passed in 2002 of cystic fibrosis. She was one of the staunchest allies of Vernon's most vulnerable people, among whom she is still remembered with a lot of love. At the Cammy Lafleur Clinic, we provide harm reduction services in the name of reducing the spread of bloodborne infectious disease and to protect life above all other priorities. So we do this by providing clean supplies and education for both safe sex and the safe consumption of all kinds of drugs. Harm reduction can be counterintuitive and is oft maligned as supporting the spread and consumption of addictive drugs, but this is not the case. Our objective is to ensure that everyone who's living in Vernon has the best chance of surviving their harmful behaviors until they have a chance to heal, not to perpetuate their addictions or entrench their involvement in risky sex work. We believe that if someone isn't ready to heal or is stumbling along their path, that their lives still matter and should be protected so they can have that chance to heal and reclaim some measure of who they were to both themselves and their families. A donation from you would pay immense social dividends in the community of Vernon. So the COVID-19 pandemic has fanned the flames of the already devastating opioid crisis. In 2021, more than 2,200 British Columbians died of toxic drug events, and 2022 is on track to be worse. And a lot of that has been in our community. I've lost a lot of folks that I know personally to this. And your donation would be used to expand our capacity to provide naloxone, as well as the training to use it to both our clients and the broader community. Naloxone is a life-saving drug that can be used to keep someone alive during an opioid toxicity event. Even a small amount of fentanyl can be lethal, especially if you think you are consuming something else. So your donation would help to improve that, as well as our overdose prevention services with better cameras and communication equipment, so medical emergencies could be detected and responded to as quickly as possible at our clinic. Finally, we would also use your donation to expand our capacity for drug testing. So at the moment, anybody in Vernon can come to our clinic, and I've lost the place in the document I was obviously reading from. Okay, anybody in Vernon can come and have any substance tested for the presence of fentanyl and other toxins. We're hoping to expand this capacity to the nearby communities of Enderby, Cherryville, and Lumbee. Fentanyl is increasingly found in substances that were previously considered safe and is extremely lethal if taken by accident. Expanding our testing capacity would not only help the most vulnerable, but also allow us to reach people, maybe young people or those experimenting with recreational drugs, to be safe as possible and to know what they at least have in their hands. Cammy Lafleur took care of the people of Vernon when nobody else would, at a time when she would have been jailed for doing the work that she did, and was threatened with that. Now, thanks to her, we have a safe space 5 days a week that literally anyone, as long as you aren't actively trying to be violent right now, can come, sit, be safe. They won't get hassled along. They can drink a coffee, get what they need to survive, and talk to somebody about how they want to change and how they want to heal. And so a donation from you would help to keep your community safer, and also help myself and my coworkers to carry on her very proud legacy. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Perfect. Good timing.
Good timing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nelson. Thank you very much. My office where I work is in the complex where Turning Points is, and we see a lot of the folks that come in and out of there, and I can tell firsthand how much it does assist people. So wonderful, wonderful work that you guys do over there. Thank you for sharing. Are there any questions? Okay. Our second charity was renominated. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to ask, do you have a story of somebody that you've been able to assist or support through that has been successful through the Cammy Lafleur Clinic?
Sorry, actually,
Cool.
yes, we had a pretty good success story. Just the other day, one of our clients came back. Sorry, I obviously won't share his name, but had a fellow who was living in Polson Park for quite a while. He was a pretty he's in his 60s. Had a pretty tough time doing the basics of kind of survival, and specifically wasn't. We were really worried that in the winter he wasn't going to make it, and so our housing team had been trying to contact him, but we just couldn't get through to him. And eventually, someone had the idea to just invite him to the clinic. Our programs were sort of separate back then, and so he started coming in, and all these different like big fancy outreach things that we'd attempted weren't successful, but the clinic just being a space where he could come and drink coffee and like watch television and talk, not about his recovery or his life or his finances, but just like talk to people, be heard and felt, and we were eventually able to make that connection and build rapport with him and get him over. Turns out it was anxiety was sort of the big hump. He wasn't really willing to share what he needed to, but once he got comfortable, he was able to get in, and he actually he came back last week and brought us like 3 giant boxes of turtles, the chocolates, and said just because he has been housed and he's feeling pretty stable and he had a little extra money on his check, so he brought them in for us to hand out with coffee and stuff for people to have snacks. So yeah, that was actually a pretty nice. It was really good.
Nice to
see
hear. That's very
Yeah.
nice
So
to hear. Yeah.
Nelson, I'm just curious, like how many people can come into the facility there?
So we're open for 3 hours a day on weekdays from 1 to 4. Our capacity is pretty limited. We have an indoor and outdoor space. We can fit like if the outdoor is habitable, we can have like 30-ish people in there, but we try to keep it down to 10 inside. And people are like, the folks who know us are pretty good about kind of getting what they need and moving along. Like after, like with COVID restrictions gone, there'll be more as well, but that's sort of the limit right now.
Yep.
And yeah, we see over the course of a day with people coming through, we see anywhere from, I would say like 20 to 50 people when I'm doing the numbers at the end.
Wow.
And from all sorts of, you'd be very surprised who comes into the clinic and who, like, this is a bigger problem than it used to be, and affects a lot of people in social strata that we aren't used to seeing affected by this. And that's why a lot of the stigma breaking education is so important, is because there's no reason to not be safe and come talk to us.
Great.
Catherine,
Thank you.
Catherine had a
Cool.
question, I think. Did Catherine?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, Nelson. Thanks for the presentation.
Of course.
I'm just wondering, and I guess probably the name of is pretty self-explanatory, because you say it's a street clinic. So it's strictly dealing with people on the street, or just people, because I guess one of the big things that's happening is there's an awful lot of overdoses that are happening with sort of middle class type of people within their homes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that is what I meant to by what we were hoping to expand with the naloxone training, is that really is, so our physical space is primarily used by folks who are living rough on the street or in our shelter programs. And we've been trying to figure out, we've sort of redone the layout of our clinic so it's easier to kind of come in and out without being seen, to both break that stigma for the folks who are entrenched in the street, but also make it accessible for people who don't necessarily want to be seen coming in and doing those things. And so we're working on it all the time. We are trying to do more outreach and getting the naloxone and the training into private hands at home. We also have a phone number, and we've got a few places and people that we can arrange deliveries of, if you know someone in your personal life and like they just want to give us a call and say, hey, I need these things, but don't want to go in there because if someone sees me, I'll lose my job, or whatever the case is. Like we'll just come drive to your house and give you a box full of whatever you need. So our aim is really just to serve anyone who needs it, and to have as few barriers between you and service as possible. So just anybody and everybody, even if people are banned from our shelters, they can come and use our space. As long as they're not throwing stuff at me at that moment, you can come be here.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Can I ask-
Questions? Oh, sorry.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
How many partner groups are you involved with? Who do you reach out to?
So because Turning Points is such a large umbrella in the community, and they do manage our contact, so we have connections to like primarily their programs or who we work with, them and our other big partner and our primary stakeholder is Interior Health. And that's through the bloodborne infectious disease prevention angle. We also partner with the University of British Columbia. That's who does the drug testing that I mentioned. They actually send a team out there of grad students who come out once a week and do testing in the community. And so we work very closely with Interior Health and specifically with the Downtown Mental Health and Substance Abuse Program, which is another supervised consumption site that is staffed by like nurses and medical staff, whereas ours are more support workers. And we have more the social side of things. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Great questions, everyone. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nelson.
Excellent. Okay, number 2, something completely different, but as worthy as all our charities are. The O'Keefe Ranch was nominated in the past, and they were renominated and chosen this time. In the O'Keefe Ranch, we have Diane Llewellyn Jones. I hope I pronounced that right.
Diane.
You're on.
Diane, you make sure you unmute yourself. I saw you
There
earlier.
we go. How's that?
So, yes,
There
now
she
I
is.
see you. There we go.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me here. My name is Diane Llewellyn Jones. You did say that right. And I am the guest experience coordinator for the O'Keefe Ranch. So basically what that means is the second you enter the property, anything that you experience is kind of under my jurisdiction. And so it's an incredibly wonderful and fun and beautiful job to have. And my profession is theater. I've been employed by the ranch for about 9 months now. So last summer season was my first season. And we introduced role play artists last summer, which engaged a lot of the theater community that's in the Okanagan Valley. And they came out and played characters that around circa 1890 to 1910 that would have perhaps existed during this time. And what that did was just really create this tremendous person-to-person interactive experience. And we brought a lot of music onto the ranch last summer as well. And so again, locked kind of into that period where the ranch was at its kind of heyday and its most successful time. When the summer hit, of course, the fires hit, and we were able to open a lot of our doors to the animals that were being evacuated from the OKIB and from the west side of the Okanagan Lake and a lot of that area. And we were thrilled to do it. It created this tremendous community out there. We were able to provide lodging spaces for the owners of the pets so that they could be with, or not their pets, their animals, so that they could be there and feed them. Anyway, but eventually we were evacuated as well. Within that summer season, we had high teas, and we had 3 performers that are in their young 20s on the ranch, and they are phenomenal talent. And they're all 3 right here from Vernon, graduates of a local high school here. And we put together a 35-minute show that showcased old time music, and they all played a character. They were all immigrants and landed on the ranch, 2 drovers and a maid. And it was a really great show. Now, of course, when we got evacuated, we could no longer do that. And the animals that we were housing, of course, had to be moved to other places. And we just kind of looked around and said, what else can we do? And the hotels in town were absolutely bulging with people, and everybody their anxiety was so high. And so we just looked at each other and said, let's take this show on the road. So we did. So I contacted all the hotels and I said, we're going to come, we're going to give a free performance. We just want to bring some life and some light to people and make them smile. So we did. And we performed in courtyards and open airs and in the lunchroom and in the conference room and all sorts of places. And we just, it was a really wonderful experience just to do that. And when everybody moved back to their homes, we thought, what other unseen, you know, audiences out there that are struggling right now? And so we turned to the nursing homes and to the retirement communities, and reached out to them and said, we have this performance, can we come by? And of course they said yes. And so we started to perform in those places. We did day homes, we did rest homes, we did care facilities, retirement communities, and we had a lot of many journal-worthy experiences, and some were hilarious as they, you know, spoke out loud during the middle of a song about how much they thought, you know, how cute they thought the boys were that were singing, or just that their spouse that had passed away used to sing that song, or they would sing along at the top of their voices. And sometimes none of that, they would just sit and, you know, and just tears. Boy, I'm gonna get teary. So no matter where we went, oh, sorry. The best part of the performance, gee, I'm just a ball baby here, was at the end when they learned that our performers were homegrown kids, and that just seemed to open the floodgates. And then everybody wanted to talk, and they wanted to talk about what they'd done in their childhood and or their youth, or how, you know, how they sang at this or played at that, and we would stay sometimes for a full hour afterwards and just visit and talk about music and the wonderful things that they had experienced. So our experience was so successful that they begged us to come back at Christmas. We came back for a Christmas show after all of our Christmas shows were done. They begged us all to come back for a Valentine's show. And by this time we had 21 places that we were going to, and we served over 800 elderly people in our communities. And then of course the lockdowns came, and we were not able to do our Valentine's show. And now that the restrictions are lifted yesterday and today, I've heard from almost every single one of them, are you coming back? Please come back. We just love, you know, these kids and the music that they bring. Unfortunately, none of this was in the budget. We just pivoted last summer. We just decided we would do this outreach and just hope that it worked. And it did, but we don't have the funds to continue. So we actually will not be able to go back out. And so that is what this funding would be for, would be to be able to return to these communities and to be able to bring some more music out until we can resume on the ranch. What we also did this winter on the ranch was we stayed.
Just to let you know, you're kind of just getting close to 7 minutes. So I'm excited about it, but just trying to keep everybody together. So yeah.
You betcha. You betcha. Yeah. Yeah. So there, basically that's it. We've stayed open. We've never been open before. We're just trying to provide an outdoor experience for families that they can come to during this really, really difficult time. And so our resources are stretched. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank
Lovely.
you.
Yeah, so amazing.
Thanks.
So great. Are there any questions for Diane? Yeah, that's a great, I was involved with Fort Steele many, many years ago, and man,
yes.
I so relate to the power of enacting a historical event and how it speaks to people through music and song. So it sounds lovely, especially for our seniors. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Then our third charity is Okanagan Quality of Life. That is Dale Dunlop. And we shall invite Dale to speak. If I can.
She has to unmute herself.
You have to unmute yourself, love.
There we are. Yes.
We are.
Hi.
Hi, Dale.
Okay, my name is Dale Dunlop. I'm the Secretary, Treasurer, and Webmaster of the Okanagan Quality Life Society. And I thank you so much for this opportunity to present to you today. Our society was formed in 1992 as a charitable nonprofit organization We provide recreational therapy in the form of boat rides on Lake Okanagan for seniors and persons with disabilities from care facilities and centers in the greater Vernon area. To accomplish this, we own and operate a pontoon boat. Cool. And it's named Heaven Can Wait, and it has been modified to accommodate wheelchairs and passengers comfortably and safely. This is a really unique and successful program. Our membership comprises about 56 volunteer captains, overseen by 9 volunteer members of a board of directors, all enthusiastic, totally socially conscious men and women who are really passionate about the well-being of our clients. Our clients are from over 50 assisted living and long-term care facilities in Vernon and the surrounding area. We offer 1-hour boat trips 4 times a day, 5 days a week, from June through September, weather permitting. So in compliance with Transport Canada regulations, for each trip, we have 2 captains, 2 caregivers from the client organization, and a maximum of 6 passengers. Captains are fully trained in boat handling and boat safety and must undergo an annual refresher course. They must also be certified every 3 years in standard first aid and CPR. In a typical year, we provide about 250 trips, accommodating about 1,500 clients. In 2019, our last year of operation, our annual expenses were just under $12,500. To keep the cost to clients as low as possible, we charge each organization only $25 per trip, which covers less than half the actual cost. We make up the difference through membership dues, donations, and fundraising. We have no regular fund, donors. This year we have exceptional startup costs over and above our normal expenses. For the last 2 years, we haven't been able to run the Heaven Can Wait program because of restrictions imposed by COVID. As a result, our clients in care homes have had to remain in isolation and haven't been able to enjoy our excursions. We have heard from our client groups how much they're really missing these outings and are looking forward to this season. We are cautiously optimistic that we will be permitted to resume operations this summer, and we are planning and preparing accordingly. COVID has had a very negative effect on our ability to fundraise, on our operational readiness in terms of training, safety equipment, and recruitment. Because we've been non-operational for 2 years, most of our captains' first aid certifications have lapsed. We'll need to fund at least 3 times the normal number of courses before the season startup. Our normal attrition rate is about 5 or 6 captains per year. This year it will likely be 3 or 4 times that amount. We need more recruiting and more in-depth boat handling and safety training for all our captains, and that'll cost extra and fuel. We need new uniforms. We'll need to replace and update our expired boat and safety equipment, life vests, emergency flares, emergency air horn, batteries, first aid kits. Finally, for safety reasons, we also need to modify our wheelchair ramp to accommodate the mooring, the dock changes made by the Vernon Yacht Club back in 2020. So, as you would expect, because of these requirements, which are essential to our operations in 2022, we need the extra funding. For almost 3 decades, our Heaven Can Wait program has been putting smiles on the faces of our clients and our captains, many of whom have been volunteering for much more than 10 years. As our community grows, so shall a demand for our unique services. We would very much appreciate your help in keeping our boat afloat. You can visit our website at www.oqls.org. That's for Okanagan Quality Life Society. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Wow, awesome.
Cool concept. Any questions for Dale?
Dale, sorry, I happen to know about your organization because I live on the lake and I see you go by all the time.
Awesome.
So, and yeah, and I've been missing the boat coming by. So you said only from June till September, is that when the program runs?
June to the end of September, yeah.
That's
Four
due
trips a day.
to weather? Is that due to weather, or is that due to not having more people to help?
No, it's due to weather, you know, and the beginning of June to the end of September. That's really a window we have to take out the old folks and the people with disabilities. You couldn't take them out in colder weather. So,
Yeah.
and they just love it. They tell stories about, you know, that they love the lake, and it's a super outing for them. The captains love it as well. It's,
We need to get the O'Keefe to do a show on the boat.
oh, that'd be awesome.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. There you're thinking.
Be cool.
Maybe Judy, maybe one more question. Is the boat only used for you, Dale, or is the boat, could you be maybe making some money and in other ways that the boat could be rented out to for other events?
No, we don't rent it out to, it's for the seniors and people with disabilities in our community. We don't rent it out. It's a whole other thing to become a commercial vessel, and we don't want any part of that. That's full time, like 5 days a week, 4 trips a day.
Four times a day. Yeah, that's true.
And I can imagine the insurance too.
Sorry.
Right. I can imagine the insurance if you were to rent it out.
That's it. Well,
Sure.
we pay a lot of insurance anyways. We have to have liability insurance, which is quite a bit. That's under our normal umbrella of we do our own funding. All of this, what we're asking from you is to cover those costs that we've been inactive for 2 years.
2 years.
And we just can't start up unless our captains are trained. And first aid is really a big cost for us.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We haven't been doing anything for 2 years. The Transport Canada insists that we have our captains certified. And that's a huge cost for every year actually, but this year is going to be worse.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Are there capacity changes or like special changes you have to do to the boat because of COVID now, or is it?
Well, this is a question that we don't know the answer to yet. We have a lot of organizations that were our clients, with the interior health and a lot of the homes, and it's we're at, what shall I say, the boat has a big capacity, but we are limited already. So we intend to do things like, disinfect the boat, wear masks if necessary, all of these things that we currently have to do in public places. But we don't yet know what we're going to be doing this summer. We just have to be ready. We really have to be working hard at preparing.
And one more question. Do you have a funny story or an interesting story of a client who used just that you could share with us?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I mean, they're just, they come on their little buses and they come onto the boat, and some of them are super chatty and super happy. Some can't talk or walk, and it's always a joy. It's hard to describe. There's smiles on their faces. It's such a beautiful outing for them. Funny, I would say one time we had the boat got pretty rocky because there was kind of a wind coming in, and the clients on the boat were doing the wave with their arms every time we did it. That was pretty funny. And they've always got lots of stories to tell. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing for both the captains and the clients.
Yeah, well said. The captain.
Family story that I could share.
Yes.
So my dad was in care and he had Alzheimer's and was able to go on your boat. And he didn't remember very many things as he was getting advanced Alzheimer's, but he remembered going on your boat and told us the story over and over and over again about how much going on that boat meant to him. And he looked forward to it with so much delight. When can I go on the boat again? When can I go on the boat again? When can I go on the boat again? And so on behalf of a family member, thank you for that service. It really meant a huge deal to him.
And we get that story all the time. It's wonderful. And there's so many people out there whose family members are getting on the boat, and we have them coming in and thanking us. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So fingers crossed, we'll be in operation soon.
True. I think this summer will be good. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you to the Cammy Lafleur Street Clinic, to the O'Keefe Ranch, and to the Okanagan Quality of Life. We are going to vote soon. Let me stop